First things first, of course. So there will be one slide dedicated to all of you. And right after that slide, we're going to move on to the study program, how it is structured in general and what are the characteristics. Then you will see that our study program is organized in 6 tracks, and we're going to talk about each of these tracks, and in particular the differences, so that you can pick the one that meets better your interest and the way you see yourself in the future workplace. After the tracks, talking about workplace, hopefully soon, job opportunities, we present what is our experience with the number of students going out from here, where they go, how soon they go, and what kind of occupations do they have. Then we will talk about some administrative stuff, some paperwork. We will explain you what are the admission criteria. So some of you still have to go through this. And ultimately the contacts. Today is an introduction. We will try to give you as much as possible information and to answer all your questions. But of course, you might come up with other curiosities and you will have the way to ask them later on. In between these blanks, there are questions and answers. I forgot to place an S. So questions and answers. My feeling, we all have been working for some months remotely, and my feeling is that when these kind of presentations occur, there are 2 parallel communications. One person presenting, and then there's the so-called back office. There are my professor colleagues who are answering a number of questions. So my suggestion to you is look at the topics. If you have already, which is good actually, but if you have already a question on a topic, wait, hold it until it is the right moment. And when the right moment comes, you can ask it, turn on the microphone, or write it on the chat. It's perfectly fine with all of us. Starting off, first thing first, we want to reassure you with a word or two. We know we have been going through difficult weeks and months all over the world. We have some unknown coming up even in the next months. Despite the path is not exactly defined as it was in the past, where there was not really a problem with pandemic, I can assure you, all the students, the international students, but also the Italian students, that Politecnico di Milano is organizing, we're working on the next semester, such that if you really have issues coming to Milano, if you really have issues coming to Italy, you will be enabled to follow the classes. So we all know that for Italians, it might be a problem leaving their cities to come to Milano because of the uncertainty. But we also know that a number of international students like you have problems finding the visa because embassies are closed. So because of the situation, Politecnico is organized a way that will allow all of you to follow remotely and wait for better times to meet here at Politecnico. Said this, a couple of slides dedicated to the study program. A very first slide dedicated to the general structure. At Politecnico, there is one degree which is called Laurea Magistrale Master of Science. So so they are equivalent words, in Ingegneria Energetica, energy engineering. So please don't think there's an Italian degree and international degree. It's one degree. Okay, so it's a unique degree, but you will see soon that you will be able to take English courses as well as Italian courses, depending on your preferences. But the degree is one and unique. Within this unity, however, there are 6 tracks. So there are particular ways the degree is declined. One track is power generation, which allow you to take up to a total of 120 credits fully in English. And it is taught here in the BOVISA campus of Politecnico di Milano, which is one of the 2 main campuses here in Milano. A second track is TERMOTECNICA, in English is energy use and built environment, which allows Italian students or Italian-speaking students to take up to 120 credits fully in Italian, and it is taught also in BOVISA. Similarly, oil and gas and production, green power systems, and energy for development are 3 tracks that are taught here in Milano, and which allow you to take up to 120 credits entirely in English. So as a sum up, it's 1 degree, 6 tracks. 5 of these 6 tracks are taught here in Milano. Out of the 5 tracks, 4 allow you to take courses only in English, whereas 1 allows you to take courses all in Italian if you wish. But you will see, you will be entitled also to mix a little bit. So you might take mostly English, but even some Italian, and vice versa. The 6th and last track is renewables and sustainability, which is a track which is entirely taught in Campus Piacenza. The Campus Piacenza, we have a dedicated slide. After all, it is 45 to 60 minutes south of Milano. Second and last slide about the study program is on the teaching activities. We saw in the previous slide 120 credits, and these 120 credits are made by 100 credits from classes, courses, plus 20 credits from thesis. So typically in Italy, if you're not used to the Italian academic style, you take first classes, and towards the end of your degree, you take a master thesis under the supervision of the professor. So from the classes, 100 credits, from the thesis, 20 credits. Now, let's see in the bottom part of this slide how these 100 credits are made by. They are made by 36 credits from fundamentals courses. Why they are the fundamental courses? They are courses that, for us, they are so important in energy engineering that all tracks must take, and they have a choice to take these classes either in English or in Italian. What are these classes? That heat and mass transfer, energy conversion, or alternatively heating and cooling systems, fundamentals of chemical processes, and electric power systems. So these are the fundamental classes. You must take them in the tracks. And these classes, you can decide whether to take them in English or in Italian. Up to you. On top of these 36 credits, there are 32 specialization credits, which are credits, meaning 4 classes, giving the specific characteristics of each track. So each track has certain specialization courses. Some of the courses are overlapping over more than one track, but this is the how we make specifically a student study on that track. On top of these two, the remainder to 100 credits, the remainder 32 credits are on other engineering areas. You will see that you will be able to pick 3 classes from certain groups, and they really cover wide areas of engineering. And here you really can follow your curiosities, your interests. On top of these 24, there are additional 8 credits which can be taken for horizontal transversal classes or even soft skills groups. We can anticipate also that from the next academic year, so when you will be in your second year here at Politecnico, you will be able to take these 8 credits even from laboratories. This year, Politecnico is working a lot to allow, to give you the opportunity next year to take also experimental classes. I have to admit that up until today, the teaching at Politecnico has been mostly a substantial fundamental teaching in classes, but from next year on, we will have also some experimental classes that you will be able to take. Now, this is one of those times after the welcoming, after the assuring you, after the structure, then I would stop for a few minutes and see if you have questions. I am not sure if I see questions, but please, guys, feel free to place questions on these introductory topics right now. Once again, you can turn on your mic or you can write them. I'll double check if okay, I see already. Let's see.
Yes, I can answer directly the question.
Okay.
When you need to choose our track, you need to choose the track at the beginning when you enroll, but you can change it on the second year, provided that all the exams are compliant with the new track. So there is the possibility to change the track on the second year if you're not fully satisfied with it at the first year.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, Luigi, we would like always to remind you that the characterization courses are 32 credits out of 100, so it's 1/3 of the credits. Please, it is important to take the right track for you, for your interests, but don't stress out. Take calmly this decision because there are large similarities among the tracks, and then you can also change it. Let's see. I see another question. Okay, is energy use and built environment track available in English also? Actually not. However, in the other tracks, you will be able to take certain classes that are typical of the of Thermotechnica, even in English. For instance, green buildings or solar thermal systems. So you will be able to take another track, but if you're really interested in the built environment, you will be able to pick some of those classes that are taught in English. I try to keep so the idea about the next semester is to give courses both in presence and in remote. The idea of the next semester is that classes will be taught mainly remotely and partly in presence with likely small groups. But even if in presence, it will be given the possibility for foreign students or Italian students not being able to join Milano to follow. So Politecnico is still working on this approach. Maybe Luigi, you can add some details on this, but definitely Politecnico wants to give all the students the opportunity to follow without issues. Luigi, would you like to add something?
Yes, I can confirm that all the classes, even if taught in presence, will be also available live streaming, so that also students who cannot reach Milan will be able to attend all the classes.
Okay, I read on the tablet the questions, because there's a question: the final semester is completely dedicated to the thesis. Actually not. Typically what students do is, in the second year, they move one class from the second semester to the first semester of the second year, in order to have a class loaded first semester of the second year, and in February, March, when the second semester of the second year starts, they start focusing on the thesis. Strictly talking, the classes plus the thesis typically take more than 24 months. They typically take between around 34 months, if I'm 27 to 30 months, typically. Other questions? Let's see if I'm missing questions. But you can choose one subject is the final semester. Okay, are there any opportunity to do it? Yes, there are. I'm talking about industries, we will talk later, but yes, I confirm there are opportunities to do thesis here in the department, as well as thesis in the industries as internship. You have to be lucky, and you have also to be active in searching for them. But theses are published on the website of the department. Let's see. Am I missing some questions? Luca, Luigi, am I missing?
So we go on answering in the chat, and I think that you can go on with your presentation, Gianluca.
Okay.
Thank you.
See, okay. I think there are some questions on the campus of Piacenza. I see flipping through, but we will talk about specifically about Piacenza, and shortly after Piacenza we have a stop. So if you guys, I see there are a couple of questions on Piacenza, we can talk afterwards. And there's also one question about energy engineering and management engineering at the same time. Right now, no. It was possible in the past. It was called internal double degree, but at the moment, it is not possible. Okay. All right. So I'll move on, and then guys, don't worry. There are other few stops for questions and answers. So here you'll see there are 2 to 3 slides dedicated for each track, just to give you a little bit the hint, the flavor of the track. Details, of course, are available on the website of our degree program. The first track, which is actually an historical track here at Politecnico di Milano, is power generation. What is the rationale, the motivation behind having a full track dedicated to power generation? Well, the answer is in this graph from the International Energy Agency. And first of all, What is this graph about? This graph is about the historical data as well as the projected data up to 2040 of the energy demand worldwide classified by source. Well, the first thing that you see is all they are ramping up. So the total is going up, meaning that humankind worldwide is going to demand for more and more energy. And this is important for us because our sector will require us to work more and more. But we will also have to work for diversify this source, because if you look at the single specific colors, some of these colors are practically constant, some of these like fossils, some of the other colors might shrink a little bit like nuclear, but there are a number of colors, those of the renewables, that are opening up. So more and more energy, but in a diverse manner. We call this energy transition. So the power generation is changing. And this track focuses specifically on the power side. So it's not on all the infrastructure of energy, from production to transmission, distribution, and use. It focuses on the production. First of all, conventional power plants. Believe it or not, want it or not, conventional power plants are going to be the backbone of the energy infrastructure for a number of decades. Whereas the renewable power plants, the more sustainable power plants, are building for the new demand of the energy. Also, on these typical processes that we look in power plants can be transferred also to industrial processes. So it's not specifically power generation when you make electricity, but industrial processes where the output might be a fuel, might be hydrogen, so it might be a fossil fuel, might be a synthetic fuel, might be like hydrogen is synthetic and sustainable fuel. Part of the track is also dedicated to the turbo machines and or, depending on what you choose, internal combustion engine. So the plant side, but also the main equipment side. What are the three important specialization courses? Chemical processes and technologies, that, as the name says, it focuses on the chemical side, because our plants, power plants, process plants, but even a car has a lot of chemical phenomena going on, typically for the abatement of emissions. In a car, the last part of the exhaust pipe is dedicated to reducing NOx and CO, for instance. Also, a very important class, but this one taught exclusively in English, in Italian, as the name says, Sistemi Energetici Avanzati, which focuses on advanced energy systems producing clean, decarbonized energy vectors, electricity and hydrogen, still using fossils, which this has to be seen a possible way, a possible bridge over and through the transition. As we saw in the previous two pictures, then there are two nice classes dedicated to internal combustion engines and turbo machinery, and as the name says, they focus specifically on these two pieces of equipment. Second track, Thermotecnica, and you asked already something. The motivation behind the energy use in built environment track is the fact that if you take data, if you look at this data, you'll see that a third, roughly, a fourth and a third, roughly, of the energy demand is used in the households, in the residential sector. So as an energy engineer, if you want to improve the energy infrastructure as a whole, one bet is focusing on the end point. Improving the end use improves the entire chain, the entire infrastructure. So about Thermotechnica, what is in Thermotechnica? Well, the built environment, call it a small house or a tall skyscraper. And then all those systems that provides the comfort within the building, heating and cooling generation, but not only the generation, but also the distribution inside the building or inside the cluster of buildings, like by district heating and cooling, as well as the use of renewable sources in the built environment. The characterizing curses, the specialization curses are efficienza energetica negli edifici, energy efficiency inside buildings, that allows you to gain the knowledge to improve the design and the envelope of the buildings. So towards, let's say, towards zero energy buildings, so lower energy consumption, maintaining a very high quality of the comfort. Green building energy systems that, as the name says, it's green, so it focuses on the source of energy, and also progettazione di impianti termici, which focuses on the HVAC design. So these are the three specialization courses. Some are Italian, one is in English, but answering like a person was asking before, you might take these classes even from other tracks. Not the whole of them, but you might pick in the guided group. Third, oil and gas production. Oil and gas is a huge sector that, as we saw previously, is going to be the backbone of the energy infrastructure. However, the oil and gas sector is facing the greatest transition. Oil companies are starting to be no more oil companies, but they're starting to be energy companies. So they provide energy, mostly today still from fossils, but we notice that the number of these companies are improving also their they part from renewables. So the oil and gas sector is naturally not a node sector, but is a fast changing sector. So what it goes from the exploration to the production, transportation, and refining, in which the environmental impact has to be greatly reduced in the future. Eni, which is the large Italian oil and gas company, or now energy company, he's setting down very aggressive studies in the reduction of CO2 emissions. So they really have very important goals in order to sustain the energy demand of their products, but providing this energy without jeopardizing the future generation. So once again, a very challenging sector, very, very challenging. So how do we prepare these the students for this? Through fundamentals of oil and gas engineering, which is indeed a class taught by Professor Blunt, who is a professor at the Imperial College in London, who comes over here for a semester to teach this class. Then we have a transport phenomena in petroleum reservoirs, which of course, how to handle the flows underground. And because we have a strong collaboration with Eni, one of these classes, oil and gas field development and production, is taught in strict collaboration with Eni personnel. So you really have person who lived the field, come in classes and provide their experience. Moving on, green and power system topics. Well, still focusing on the very first chart, there were those green slices opening up, widening towards the future. So maybe today, in absolute terms, they're not so important, but in the future, they will be more and more important. You will see on this bottom slide that the renewables consumption per region is increasing exponentially overall. The world is asking for more and more renewable energy. Well, among renewables, there are programmable sources, so something that it can be turned on and off upon the demand on the grid, and some others are not. Non-programmable sources actually today are the most important renewable sources, but as they're not programmable, they place a number of requirements on the management of the electrical grid. There are solar thermal technologies and electrochemical technologies too. So one of the options in order to buffer the excess of renewables is, for instance, producing, as we see in the picture, hydrogen that we can use in a number of ways. So what are the specialization courses for the clean power systems? Well, definitely 2 courses dedicated to the whole renewable sources. Then we have a full class dedicated to electric conversion from green sources. You can look at it as fuel cells, flow batteries, and electrolyzers. But this is electric conversion is in general. But for those who like fluid turbo machines, there also a full class dedicated to the design of fluid machines from clean power generation, mainly, but not only wind turbines. You see below, you're talking about hydraulic turbines. Then, last track here at BOVISA is the energy for development. Why the need for a course dedicated to the development? Well, if you take a picture like this one, which shows the annual energy use by person per region, you'll see that there are very different shades of the colors. There are certain regions in which one single human being uses a lot of energy per year, and there are larger parts of the world in which a single person uses nearly nothing of energy. And this is not a good picture of the energy infrastructure. There's a lot to do to allow larger and larger portions of humanity to access electricity. So there's the full course, this energy development course is dedicated to this. It's dedicated to the achievement of the goal number 7 of the, these are the Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations in 2015. Goal number 7 out of these goals is 17 goals. Number 7 is affordable and clean energy. So bring energy where today there's not energy used, but make it cheap enough and clean enough that it will not influence the environment over there, and such that great portions of the people can use it. So bring, and it's called, in other words, energy democracy. But the specialization courses are energy and climate change modeling and scenarios, development economics, engineering and cooperation for development. So we have seen so far the 5 tracks, 5 taught over here in BOVISA, out of which 4 you can take the full degree in English, 1 you can take the full degree in Italian, but you can blend a little bit if you like. The 6th and last track, it's taught in Piacenza. Piacenza is the campus, as we were anticipating, south of Milano, which can be reached by car, but more conveniently by train, and which is somewhat different from the tracks over here. It's called Renewables and Environmental Sustainability. So it has portions that cover the power generation and, more importantly, the green power systems, but there's this environmental word. It's a bridging track between energy engineering and environmental engineering in order to solve a number of issues that today occur in the energy infrastructure. It may be required to have both competencies, the energy competence, the environmental competence, as energy is typically transferred by electricity, also electric engineering competencies turn handy. The specialization courses over here are energy engineering courses like bioenergy and waste to energy technologies, electric engineering like smart grids and regulation for renewable energy sources, and environmental courses as air pollution and control engineering, as well as industrial ecology. So this is a blend between energy engineering and environmental engineering. A couple of slides, then we stop because I hear we are receiving questions. As we were saying, the first semesters will be of fundamental learning through classes or virtual classes. And when you reach next year, and in particular your thesis, you might get access, if you would like, of course, to laboratories. The laboratory, most of these laboratories are here at the Department of Energy, and you see a list of the larger laboratories over here in the department, but also in Piacenza for those going in Piacenza, or also for those coming over here in BOVISA but would like to have an experience in Piacenza. There are 2 laboratories, the Laboratorio Energia Ambiente Piacenza, which is fully dedicated to energy and environment, and the Study Center Manter within the LEAP laboratory. So here is a time to stop for other questions. Luigi, Luca, Gianpaolo, Andrea, in the background, I heard we were receiving questions and questions. Are there questions that you feel like answering to everybody before we move on?
So we are answering directly in the chat. I think that you can move on. Okay, but Luigi, you think there's something that can be 1 or 2 questions that are typical? Well, they are very specific, Gianluca. So I think that yes, it's better to answer each question independently. Thank you. Okay. Guys, also if you have general question, go for over here, and then we can answer to everybody for the use of everybody. So we introduced the study program. You saw that the study program is 1 with 6 tracks. We introduced the 6 tracks, 5 at BOVISA, 1 at Piacenza. What's next? Well, what you will be able to do after you fulfill this energy engineering degree? Well, the energy word is a large word, like luckily to us. Well, if we have to think of what you could do, a minimum list would be work as an energy engineer in the design, construction, and maintenance of something, where this something is
and equipment, turbo machines, heat exchangers, heat pumps, refrigerators, internal combustion engines, compressors, expanders, whatever you can think of in the energy infrastructure. Also, in those companies that design the power plants, buy the equipment and construct the plants, not the power plants, the plants in general. They are called EPC companies, engineering, procurement, and construction companies. You could be working there in a couple of years from now. Also, in power utilities, in energy and gas distributors, and more in general in process industries, where process industries really opens up to an even larger world. Also, energy engineers can be energy managers, managing the energy in medium and large companies, which is a requirement, for instance, in Italy and other countries, or in large public institutions, or even there are companies dedicated to the energy services. You might be working as an engineer in non-governmental or NGOs. You might be a consultant, so work on your own for one of these previous figures, and why not? There are even some cases in which you could start your own new company in the energy sector, maybe in the clean tech. Clean tech are the clean technologies in the energy sector. The numbers for the occupational survey are extremely good. Look, from up to right, 98% of our students have an employment rate within 1 year after graduation. Then 89 within 6 months. Honestly talking, my experience is that a number of my graduate students making the thesis with me even have a job opportunity before defending the thesis. All of them within a very few months have a number of offers to go for. So job opportunities, honestly talking, are not an issue. Monthly salary, 1,600, which is good compared to Italy. Of course, you have to compare it to our scenario. Maybe you come from countries where it is a very good salary, but also you might come from a scenario from a country where it's a lower salary. But if you would be working here in Italy, it would be a good one. And where do they work? Our students, 12%, so 1 out of 10 go abroad, but also the international students, most of them start working here in Italian companies. My experience is that international students find relatively easy a job in an Italian company that has business with the country of origin of that student, makes the experience here, he or she gonna make the experience here in the Italian company, and once has learned the culture of the company and a little bit of Italian, which helps, they move back home into the company over there. So this is very, very typical. And then those are the sectors where they go on and work. This is my second last stop. I check over the questions. Guys in the background, are there questions about the jobs that are important to answer for everybody? Do you think
not yet. We are answering questions related to the various tracks.
Okay, so answering questions to the various tracks. Okay, so everything are going fine with the questions. Okay, I see questions being answered. Okay. Well, guys, if you like to place questions on job opportunities, yes, the internship, I'll tell you, I get this question about internships while studying. Yes, the internship can be taken typically during the thesis time. It's in Italy, there's not this, it's not typical the summer internship. It's not like in other countries where 2 to 3 months in summer is typical to go and work in a company with a wage. This is not like that here in Italy. Typically, you study for 3 semesters. So it's going to be 18 months of studying classes and laboratories in the 3rd semester. At the 1st semester, you still take a couple of 2 to 3 classes if you are right on track. And then you start the thesis. You can start the thesis as an intern if you find the opportunity, and there are many opportunities. So the internships are at the end of the track. I have to also to tell you that typically these internships are optional internships, so you might or might not have a wage. So it's not guaranteed. But definitely is not a structured system like the summer internship in other countries. Okay, I'll move on to the very end of this presentation so that you could ask the last questions, the admission criteria. So the first four slides are about how to get into energy engineering at Politecnico Milan. The first 2 slides are divided depending whether you come from an Italian university or you come from a foreign university. If you come from an Italian university, first thing to do is compute your ECTS credit weighted average score. You give it the name SC. So you take your courses you took with your credits and make the weighted score average. Then, your weighted average score has to be larger than a threshold. Threshold SC is computed as a sum. It's a sum of a basic threshold and an adjustment. The basic threshold S is it's a value given below. It might be it's equal to 24 if you originating from an Italian university where you took energy engineering. S is still equal to 25 if you originated from Italian university where you took an engineering course which is not energy engineering, another course. It's equal to 27 if you hold a BA which is not in any engineering subject. So you take the S, which refers to your career, and then you add a ratio of n minus 3 divided by 2. N is the number of years you took to complete your degree from the first enrollment, divided by 2. Say that you took 3 years to take the bachelor. 3 minus 3, 0, there's no adjustment. But if you took your bachelor in 4 years instead of 3, 4 minus 3 is 1, divided by 2, it's a half. So in other words, this adjustment adds half a point for every additional year you took to fulfill your Bachelor of Science. So you build SC and your ECTS weighted average score must be greater than this value, greater or equal to. If you're satisfied, you're in. If you come from a foreign university, the rules are slightly different because it reflects that worldwide there are a number of academic systems different from the Italian one. So it's mostly based on an evaluation, which is qualitative and quantitative both. First of all, the admission committee looks at your academic curriculum, and in particular looks if you have minimum requisites. Minimum requisites are given in the next two slides. So first of all, you have to have taken certain courses that for us are required to enter the Master of Science in Energy Engineering. Then in your system, you need to have a GPA, so an average grade greater than 70% in your system. So it's 70% in a range from 0 to 4 to 0 to 10, whatever it is. So first of all, yourself, your transcript on records, in other words. Then there is a little influence about the university ranking. So what is the university you took for your bachelor? And then there is a bonus if you took the GRE. It's not compulsory, so you don't have to take it. But if you took it, it adds something. This admission is not managed by a committee here in the department, at least not in the first part, but is managed centrally by the university. So international students, please refer to that link. Prerequisites are divided into the 5 tracks at BOVISA and the 2 track at Piacenza, because these tracks have a slightly difference in the fundamentals. Also, the prerequisites are slightly different. So our committee looks at the fact that you took in your bachelor enough credits to cover those disciplines that we think are necessary to start an energy engineering. So this is a fairly long list. I wouldn't go through the list item by item. Here it is. And this is also the list for the track in Piacenza, which is called EEE. So we're almost on time. Guys in the background, are there questions on enrollment? Questions on enrollment? You still answering online?
Yes, we are still answering online. I posted some useful links for both Italian and international students.
Okay, so guys, if you look in the chat, there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 links that comes handy to answer questions on the admission criteria. Let's see if we have something specifically. I'm just going. Okay, let's see. Luigi, I see any question.
Yes, I see. I can answer, but well, usually mechanical engineering does not require a lot of exams to be admitted. On the other hand, the answer can be completed only if we examine into detail your study program. So you can send it to us, particularly to Professor Molinaroli. Now I'm writing his email in the chat in order to get advice about the subjects to be recovered.
Luigi, this is a question for you because you have a salaries. The 1,600 was net or gross?
They are net.
Net salaries. So take in your pocket to go shopping and traveling. Okay, I'll move on to the very last. So we see that if there are questions, the very last is some websites that might be handy and an email. So you saw in the chat, you see in the chat some links, and these are also replicated here. ccs-energetica.polimi.it is the website of our energy engineering course. Teaching rules are given in the Polimi website, and there is also a generic email to energy engineering that can be read by other persons and answer your questions. Okay, now the presentation is done. I hope to see you at least through webcams soon. I would say that we can open up the floor to all questions. I see some questions flipping over here. Okay. Tax code, partita, codice fiscalis. Those questions about tax codes and visas, we actually do prefer that you refer to the International Admission Office, because they are in strict contact with the Italian offices, so they really have fresh and direct answers. So tax code, yes, you need it, but how to get it, the admission office will supply help as far as they supply help for visas. Is there entrance exam for energy engineering, Luigi? There's a test.
Excuse me, Gianluca,
Yeah.
I'm answering other questions, so I couldn't hear your question. Can you
Test
repeat?
online. There's a test online to enter
No.
energy engineering.
No, there is not a test. The test online is only relative to the access to the Bachelor of Science, and it is just a curriculum evaluation which is performed in order to admit you or not at the Master of Science.
Okay,
So the semester will start at mid-September. Now the exact date will be Monday the 14th September.
There's somebody asking the ranking of this program. I know the answer, so I take a couple of questions that it seems that they were answered. Maybe one of the placement, one of the ranking. I proudly can tell you that Politecnico di Milano is the first Italian technical university in 10 research areas. One of these research areas is called mechanical engineering, because worldwide energy engineering is considered inside mechanical engineering. Then it is 17th topmost university in Europe for 7 research areas, and it is in the best 50 university worldwide, still in the same 7 research areas. So about the ranking, I can proudly say that Politecnico is a high ranking university. Then about the placement, here at Politecnico, you can check it on website. There is an office dedicated to the placement. It's called Career Service. So www.careerservice.polimi.it. There's this office dedicated for the placement. and are giving you tests. Yes, they will provide you guidelines for preparing CVs and for preparing to how they call them, interviews. And they also here Politecnico Career Service organizes a few times per year meetings, job fairs with the companies. So
Gianluca, there's a question related to the Erasmus program, since you're responsible for the mobility.
Yes,
can you give some information about it?
Could you talk about the Erasmus program? Yes, definitely. We are part of all mobility programs. Erasmus program is one of the possible programs. It means Erasmus Plus, today is called the Erasmus Plus, it's for Europe, but we also have extra Europe destinations. We cover practically the whole world. There are very few options in Africa, some of them in Kenya, and there are a number of options in North America and Australia, and the rest of the world is very well covered, going from South America, Europe, all Asia, the entire Asia, and East and Far East. So yes, we have a number of programs. I can tell you that our degree program is one of the largest number of students going abroad. Of course, there are rules for the mobility. So there are rankings based on your curriculum here at Politecnico. And then, of course, you have to agree with the professor, like with me, if you go in certain destinations, the exams that you take abroad and there's substitution here. So it's not that you go everywhere whenever you want. Of course, it is engineered, the system. But yes, we have a large number of students going abroad every year. It says, there's a question about clubs and teams. Muhammad, you are actually used to another systems. I tell you, I also lived abroad for some time. Unfortunately, clubs and teams are not so common here at Politecnico di Milano. Not yet. We're still looking for making teams in energy engineering in order to participate to energy competitions worldwide. But honestly talking, I cannot tell you that here everything is perfect. Clubs and teams are not developed yet. What are the requirements for getting the scholarship? Chavez, I would suggest to contact the International Mission Office because they do manage it directly. So
yes. So yes, I would like to add that the scholarships are not managed directly by a study program, but they are managed by the university. So you have to ask the International Admission Office for that.
Do companies come to hire directly from the university? Yes, we have job fairs. And you see, they're fun. I mean, we also go around job fairs because there are many companies coming. I mean, the last job fair was entirely virtual, remote, as we can. Do we have supercomputers? Yes, we have a laboratory of supercomputing. Luigi, the admission demand is for free. I saw it twice.
If the meaning is if it is free of charge, I don't think so. I think that there is some secretary rights. you have to ask the student office for the details.
I also believe there's a small fee, not something expensive, not something expensive. Prego, guys, we actually, I have to be honest, I think you feel it. We do this, we have been giving presentation for years and years because we like it and because we want to see large motivated classes. Then we are tough professors, guys, eh? we're not easy, but you will like it. You will like studying over here. Ciao Alireza, ciao everybody, hope to see you soon too. Forza Milan, guys, if you like soccer, here you have clubs, definitely. Okay, I think Luigi, guys, how much do international students are in a batch? I can tell you, in the last class, I had a fourth of international students. My last class was, I teach at the first semester, first year, slightly over 200 students new last year, around 50 international. How much does it cost to live in Milano? Okay, Luigi.
Yes, I would like to add that international students in our study program are actually 25% of the total number of students. And at present, we are in the industrial engineering, the study program with the highest number of international students. On the average, in the School of Industrial and Information Engineering, we have 1/5, so 20%, and we are 25. So we are very international.
Okay, there are two questions. One I can answer, one I cannot. How much does it cost to live in Milano? Guys, unfortunately, Milano is a fun city, but an expensive city. So you could find a room, only a room for 500 euros per month. You can think that the lifestyle in Milano is expensive as those metropolitan cities in worldwide. If you think of Paris, London, New York, definitely I cannot tell you that Milan is cheap. Definitely not. But it is very international city. So if you come over here, you have to look and live with other students. So you rent a room with other students, and of course you have to be careful in spending money. But also on the other side, Milano offers a lot. If you like museums, if you like theaters, if you like, of course, going out at night with friends, there's a lot, but it has a cost. The other question, there was one question that I couldn't answer. I looked for it. How long does it take for the permit to expire? I don't know. This is another question to be asked to the admission office. Grading policy. I take this one, the grading policy. Let's see, was it? Okay, grades over here go from 18 to 30th. So the grade is 18, 19, 20 every unit, 21, 22 up to 30. And there's even 30 cum laude, 30 with merits. In Italy, it's not a shame if you take a grade, if you pass an exam and reject the grade and retake that exam. It's not even a shame if you do not pass an exam and have to retake it. It might happen. It's not like in other countries where you cannot miss an exam. So you might actually try 2 or 3 times an exam to get the grade you were aiming at. Yes, there are Italian classes here. It's a new project by the Central Politecnico for Italian classes, because we would like international students to know a little bit of Italian culture to take them with them. Yes, indeed, Luca, right? There are Italian courses. Beginning. Yes, they do. Yes, Piacenza, it's cheaper. Giampaolo, I agree, definitely. And then also Piacenza is a smaller city, more comfortable. You feel it if you live there. Milano is definitely a cosmopolitan city. So once in a while, you are a human being in a flash of things happening. Living policy. Teaching assistants, I take this question because I know what you mean, Alireza, I know what you mean about. Here, our teaching assistants are PhD students, not master students. So not at this level. However, students can apply for jobs up to 150 hours per year. We call them 150-hour students. You can have as job, maybe work at the library, work at some events, and being paid for. So you could do that. Energy engineering jobs post-COVID in Italy. I honestly talking, I haven't been working so much with companies like during COVID. So actually in COVID, we worked more on energy.
So there's a question about moving from Milan to Piacenza and vice versa. Nina says, if we are accepted in Milan BOVISA campus, could we change it with the study in Piacenza campus? This is possible only if you also passed the selection for Piacenza, because there are 2 different selections, one for Milan and one for Piacenza. So you have to enroll to both. And if you're admitted to both, you can move from one to the other. Otherwise, you have to stay, to remain in the track in Milan or in Piacenza where you've been admitted to.
Job assistant. Okay, guys, in a couple of minutes, I will have to leave because I have to see my students in a virtual room soon. Let's see. Hope guys to see you soon. Hope you appreciate it today. Thanks very much for everybody to be here. Thanks very much to Luigi, Giampaolo, Andrea, and Luca in the background making most of the work. Ciao guys. Ciao everybody.